Chapter 16. Lewis was horrified at the sight of the hunters and leapt into the nearest bush. "Ah!" he screamed. Unfortunately, it was another thorny shrub. Meanwhile, Ray realized that Naveen was in trouble. He took a deep breath and flew up. "I'll show you what a brave little firefly can do," Ray shouted, flying straight into Reggie's left nostril. The hunter yelled and dropped the net. Naveen seized the opportunity to break free and dive into the water. The boat rocked wildly as Reggie stood up and stuck his finger into his right nostril. Then he blew his nose loudly. Ray shot out like a bullet and slammed into a rock. "Oof," groaned the firefly. "I think I broke my favorite tooth." On the shore, Tiana was once again trying to escape from the hunter called Two Fingers. Just then, his brother Darnell burst out of the bushes, swinging a club. Suddenly, he slipped and fell onto the muddy bank. Darnell's fall tilted the log beneath Tiana and launched her into the air. She landed right inside a frog trap. Darnell slammed the trap shut and shouted, "Got another one, Pa!" "What are you yelling about?" grumbled Reggie, as Darnell and Two Fingers climbed into the boat. "Where's your frog?" Darnell asked his father, noticing the empty net. "Shut up," Reggie snapped, boiling with anger. Naveen surfaced from the water and saw Tiana trapped in Darnell's cage. The boat was already pulling away. Without a second's hesitation, Naveen rushed to save her. He shot out his frog tongue toward the boat and stuck to it. The skiff picked up speed, and Naveen skimmed behind it like he was water skiing. "Pa," said Darnell, looking around, "did you hear that strange knocking sound?" Reggie shook his head and took off his hat. Tiana gasped. Naveen was sitting right on top of Reggie's head. Darnell paused for a moment and raised his club. "What are you aiming at?" Reggie asked. Suddenly, his son swung and hit him on the head. Naveen leapt up and dodged the blow. "Ah, I missed!" Darnell cried in frustration, raising the club again. He struck his father once more and missed again. "Two Fingers!" Reggie yelled. "I need help!" Two Fingers rushed over, stood up abruptly, and the door of the frog trap flew open. "Run, now!" Naveen shouted to Tiana. Tiana scrambled out and joined him. The frogs ended up on Two Fingers' leg. "Watch out!" Naveen managed to shout just as Darnell stomped down on his brother's foot with a crunch. The frogs were launched into the air. They darted back and forth between the hunters while the men kept hitting each other, trying to strike the frogs. At last, Darnell collapsed into the bottom of the boat along with his father and brother. "These two aren't like any frogs I've ever seen. They're really smart," muttered Reggie. "And we can talk," Tiana declared loudly. The three frog hunters, stunned by what they had heard, ran off as fast as they could. Laughing, Tiana and Naveen set off to find Ray and Louie. Chapter 17. Louie finally made his way out of the thorny bushes onto the riverbank. He was still in pain and didn't quite understand what had just happened. Spotting Ray lying on the ground, he hurried over to help the poor Firefly, who had barely escaped death inside Reggie's nose. "Are you all right, little bug?" Louie asked. He used a tiny reed to give Ray artificial respiration. The Firefly coughed. "I'm fine," he groaned, lifting his head. "I almost died from your breath." Pointing to a thorn stuck in his chest, Louis asked Ray to help him once again. "I always help a friend," Ray assured him, and pulled the thorn out of the alligator's skin. "Could you get the ones on this side too?" Louis asked, turning around. His back was completely covered in thorns. Ray realized that this job would definitely take some time. Naveen and Tiana emerged from the tall grass. They were laughing about their adventure. "And we can talk," Naveen quoted Tiana. "I liked that. You've got a sense of humor." "So I'm not a nag?" Tiana asked. "Well, I meant," Naveen began. "Say it," Tiana insisted. "Say it." "All right," Naveen took a deep breath. "You're not exactly—" "Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was that?" she teased. "Well, you're not that much of a nag," Naveen finished, smiling. Tiana giggled. That's when they noticed poor Louis. He was covered in thorns, and Ray was helping him, pulling them out one by one. Louis muttered that some good cooking would make him feel better. "How about some gumbo?" Tiana suggested. Naveen brightened and sat down, ready to wait while she prepared it. "Oh, no, 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 Your Highness," Tiana teased him. "You're going to chop mushrooms." She handed Naveen a few mushrooms and a sharp stone he could use as a knife. "Chop?" Naveen asked in confusion. After gathering some ingredients from the swamp, Tiana returned and saw that Naveen was still trying to cut the very first mushroom. He finally sliced off a tiny piece and sighed. "One." Tiana stopped and looked at him. She almost felt sorry for the spoiled prince. "Step aside, mister," she said. "Watch and learn." Naveen was amazed as Tiana quickly chopped the mushroom. She handed him the stone, but he still looked lost. Tiana stood behind him and placed her hand over his, guiding him and showing him how to cut properly and neatly. Naveen was deeply impressed. He took the stone and started cutting on his own. "That's it," Tiana said with a smile. "You know," Naveen said in wonder, "I've never done anything like this before." He sighed deeply. "When you live in a palace, everything is done for you. You're dressed, fed, driven around, your teeth are even brushed." "Oh, poor boy," Tiana remarked sarcastically. Naveen shrugged. "Yes, I liked that life, but when my parents cut me off, I suddenly realized I didn't know how to do anything." Now Tiana truly felt sorry for him. "Hey," she said, as Naveen continued cutting the mushroom into smaller pieces. "You're doing pretty well with the mushrooms. Keep practicing and maybe I'll hire you." That praise made Naveen beam. "Really?" "No," Tiana laughed. "Oh, come on," Naveen replied, laughing along with her. As the sun set over the swamp, the shadows on the mirror-like water grew longer, but one of them moved as if it were alive. It had just discovered a few colorful scraps of balloons at the base of a tree. The shadow let out a call that echoed across the swamp. Moments later, other shadows joined it. "Who wants seconds?" Tiana asked, standing over a pumpkin she was using as a pot. "That was amazing," Naveen exclaimed. "You definitely have talent." "Oh, thank you," Tiana said, blushing. She was a little surprised by the compliment from Naveen. After their meal, they all settled down to rest on the shore. Ray and Louis gazed thoughtfully at the night sky, and suddenly Ray exclaimed, "There she is, the most beautiful firefly in the whole universe." "Evangeline?" Tiana asked, looking around. "Introduce us. Where is she?" Louis asked. "How can you not see her?" Ray replied. "There she is, shining right in front of us." They all looked up, but the only thing they could see were stars twinkling in the sky. And in that moment, they realized Ray was in love with the evening star. Chapter 18. Louis stared intently at the glow of the evening star above the swamp. It was so beautiful that the alligator felt an irresistible urge to take out his gizzle. Slowly, Louis began to play a melody. Naveen held out his hand to Tiana. "Oh no, I don't dance," she said. Naveen smiled and pulled her closer. "If I can chop, then you can dance," he said. Tiana smiled. She and Naveen glided to the sweet music of Louis across lily pads and beneath the water. Tiana closed her eyes as the prince led her in the dance, but when he leaned in to kiss her, she opened her eyes and pulled away. "Lottie has found herself a great dance partner," she said, feeling a bit awkward. "We should hurry." Naveen nodded, sadly, when suddenly a dark shadow fell over him and dragged him away. "Ah!" Naveen cried. "Tiana, help me!" "Naveen!" she called out. Suddenly, several more shadows surrounded him. Tiana rushed after them. She grabbed Naveen's hands and tried to pull him back. Just then, Louis appeared and joined her, as if they were in a tug-of-war with the evil shadows. Ray grabbed onto Louis's tail, adding his weight to the struggle. And then, whoosh, 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 several blinding flashes of light destroyed the shadows one by one. Tiana, Louis, and Ray looked up and saw a new, enormous, frightening shadow moving toward them down the slope. The friends trembled with fear. The shadow grew larger and larger, and then, suddenly, its owner appeared, a short, elderly Creole woman. She blew smoke from the gourd she was using as a pipe and, placing one hand on her hip, stopped at the foot of a large tree. She was just over a meter tall. She wore dark glasses, and a large snake hung around her neck. The friends didn't need anyone to tell them who this strange figure was. It was none other than Mama Odie. "Not bad for a 198-year-old blind lady," she said to her snake, Juju. Mama Odie was proud that at her age she could still chase away a few shadows. She waddled over to the group of friends and asked which one of them was having trouble with the wicked Dr. Facilier. Louis quickly pointed at Naveen. Mama Odie nodded, as if the alligator had only confirmed what she already knew. She turned and led them to a boat hidden among the gnarled branches of a nearby tree. Mama Odie had turned the abandoned boat into a home. "Juju, come here, my sweet. You love your mama, don't you?" She leaned her face toward the large snake to receive a kiss. When Mama Odie settled into her chair, Tiana cleared her throat nervously and gathered the courage to speak. Chapter 19. "Mama Odie," Tiana began, "we don't want to take up too much of your time, but—" "Want some candy?" Mama Odie asked, reaching into her pocket. She pulled out some lint, a few coins, and an old piece of candy. "No, I think I'll pass," Naveen grimaced. "No, thank you," Tiana said. Mama Odie shrugged. Well, suit yourselves, she said, popping the candy into her mouth. It's special. Whoever eats it turns into a human. No! Wait! Tiana and Naveen cried out together. Mama Odie laughed. I'm joking. What, did I scare you? She asked. And how did you know that we want to turn? Tiana began. Mama Odie interrupted her with a loud snore. She had already fallen asleep. Naveen tapped on her glasses. Juju! She shouted, suddenly waking up. Why didn't you tell me my gumbo was boiling? As Mama Odie shuffled over to the stove, Louis whispered, Are you sure this is the blind swamp witch who lives in a boat and is supposed to help us? Absolutely sure, Ray replied. Can't keep up with everything, Mama Odie said, stirring the gumbo in an old pot. I have to do everything myself around here. Tiana and Naveen hurried over to the stove. Give it a taste, Mama Odie said, pushing a spoonful of soup into Tiana's mouth. Add a couple drops of hot sauce and it'll be perfect, Tiana advised. Juju, Mama Odie called. Quick as a flash, the snake brought a bottle of hot sauce and added it to the pot. Mama Odie tasted it. That's got a little kick, she said with a smile. Then, turning to Naveen and Tiana, she added, Now, have you figured out what you need right now, child? Tiana nodded. Yes, of course, Mama Odie. I need to work even harder, and the restaurant will be mine. Well now, Mama Odie said, throwing up her hands. It seemed that Tiana didn't understand the difference between wanting something and needing something at all, while Naveen was just beginning to grasp it. With a sigh, Mama Odie said to Tiana, Well, if you're set on becoming human, there's only one way. She returned to the stove and stirred the gumbo in her gourd. The thick soup began to glow. Gumbo, gumbo, thick and bright, show the princess in our sight, she chanted. A vision appeared in the gumbo, and Mama Odie let Tiana take a look. Lottie? Tiana asked, seeing Charlotte primping in front of a mirror. But she's not a princess. Quiet and look into the pot, Mama Odie snapped. Tiana looked again and saw that Charlotte was still awake. Suddenly, her bedroom door flew open. Big Daddy stood in the doorway, his face lit up with a wide smile. He was dressed like a king. In his hands was a pillow with a tiara resting on it. Charlotte took one look at the crown and eagerly placed it on her head. Then she gratefully kissed Big Daddy. That's it, Tiana said, finally putting it together. Big Daddy is the king of the Mardi Gras parade, so Lottie is a princess now. Does that count? Naveen asked. It does, but only until midnight when the celebration ends, Mama Odie replied. As the vision in the gumbo faded, Naveen and Tiana thought about what they had just seen, a princess who could kiss a frog and break the spell. Mama Odie turned to Naveen. You've got to get a kiss from that princess, and then boom, you'll both be human again. By midnight? Naveen repeated. We don't have much time, Tiana anxiously said. What about me, Mama Odie? Louie asked. I want to become human too, so I can play jazz with the big guys. Mama Odie laughed. Dig a little deeper and you'll find everything you need. Then she addressed all four of them. Go on now, go on. You've still got a long way to travel to New Orleans. Chapter 20. Tiana, Naveen, and Ray followed Louie to a wide, open stretch of river. They had to hurry to reach Charlotte before midnight. At last, in the distance, they saw a steamboat cutting through the water. Its lights glowed a soft pink, and lively jazz music filled the night air. Ray flew up above the deck and looked around. With a whistle, he gave the signal. Tiana and Naveen jumped off Louie and climbed over the railing onto the deck. They glanced around to make sure no one saw them. Louie followed. Carefully hauling himself over the side, he slid down onto the deck. Suddenly, the four friends saw people coming around the corner. The two little frogs and Ray managed to hide, but not Louie. He was too big. The musicians, dressed in animal costumes, looked at Louie and laughed. "Man, that is one amazing costume," they exclaimed. "Come on, join us." This was his chance. Without much hesitation, the alligator followed them as they went to play jazz in a real band. Smiling, Tiana and Ray hurried after their friend. They wanted to sneak a look at Louie's big musical debut. Meanwhile, Naveen hopped aside and quickly fashioned an improvised ring. When he finished, he held in his hands what he hoped would soon become a symbol of his love for Tiana. Then the prince looked up at the evening star. "Oh, Evangeline," he said, "why can't I just look Tiana in my eyes and say—" Naveen stopped, dropped to one knee, and continued practicing his proposal to Tiana, using Evangeline as his stand-in. "I will do everything I can to make all your dreams come true, because I love you." Suddenly, Ray appeared. "Hey, boss, you sweet-talking my girl?" Ray raised his tiny fists, ready to fight for Evangeline's honor. "That's it. Take this." "No, no, no, Ray," Naveen cried. "I don't love Evangeline. I love Tiana." For a moment, everything froze, even Ray. Then the little Firefly exploded with excitement. "Oh, I knew it! I knew it! I knew it!" "I can't marry Miss Charlotte LaBouffe," Naveen went on. "I'll figure out how to get Tiana her restaurant. I'll get a job, maybe 2 or even 3. It seemed the easygoing prince had changed his ways. He was in love, and Mama Odie would have said that this was exactly what he needed. "Oh, I can't wait to tell her," Ray exclaimed. "No, no, no," Naveen protested. "I have to tell her myself." "Yeah, that's the right thing to do," the Firefly agreed. When Naveen finally caught up with Tiana, he led her to a quiet corner on the upper deck. "Where are you taking me?" "Oh, I just wanted to celebrate our last night as frogs," Naveen replied. He led her up to the top of the captain's cabin. The view was breathtaking. Stars shimmered above them, and the lights of houses along the riverbank welcomed them warmly. Tiana gasped when she saw a beautiful table set with candles and treats. Naveen carefully hid the ring. He wanted to wait for the perfect moment. "Oh, no one has ever done anything like this for me in my entire life," Tiana said. She was genuinely touched. Everything was perfect. Naveen was just about to give her the ring when suddenly, "There it is!" Tiana exclaimed excitedly. Not realizing what Naveen was doing, she pointed toward the shore. Tiana had already spotted the sugar mill. "That's your restaurant?" Naveen asked, growing hopeful. "People from all over the world will come to taste our food," Tiana said. "Our food?" Naveen asked hopefully, thinking she might let him share that dream with her. "Oh no, mine and my father's," Tiana explained. "We dreamed of opening a restaurant there. He didn't live to see it, but tomorrow, with your help, my dream will finally come true." "Tomorrow?" asked Naveen, surprised. "If I don't bring the money in the morning, I'll lose it forever," Tiana said. Naveen lowered the hand holding the ring. Tiana never saw it. All she could see was the sugar mill, and her chance to fulfill the dream she had shared with her father. Heartbroken, Naveen realized he would never be able to get the money to buy the mill by tomorrow. "Tiana, I love hearing you talk about your dream. It's beautiful. I promise I'll do everything I can to make it come true." When the steamboat sounded its arrival at the port, Naveen quietly excused himself. "I'll go find the others," he said, feeling as though he was saying goodbye forever. Left alone, Tiana turned to the evening star and spoke to it. "Evangeline," she said, "I always knew what I wanted, but now—" She paused, as if waiting for an answer. "What should I do? Please tell me." She simply couldn't understand why, when her lifelong dream was so close to coming true, her heart felt so heavy. But Evangeline only twinkled back at the confused little frog, as if the star knew that Tiana had to figure it out on her own. On the other side of the steamboat, a shadow slowly crept up behind Naveen. It grabbed the frog, and there was no one nearby to save him. "No! Help!" Naveen cried, as a swarm of shadows dragged him away. And so, this part of Tiana's story comes to an end, but her journey is far from over. Ahead lie new challenges, important choices, and perhaps answers to the most important questions of all. Will Tiana be able to change her destiny? And will she manage to keep believing in her dream? We'll find out very soon. If you enjoyed this story, please support the video with a like, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the continuation of this magical tale. Good night and sweet dreams.